Right on! Right on!
Hello and welcome to Beaconsfield Cycling Club virtual racing on tonight's course, the Richmond UCI Worlds course last used in the World Championships in 2015, the one that Peter Sagan famously won. The course this evening is 33 kilometres long, 16.2 kilometres per lap, and most significantly 300 metres of climbing with 3 hills, 2 of them pretty steep at over 10%, and I think even there might be a 15-16% climb on the corners. So tonight we're starting with the Bs. We'll try and stay with them for most of the race to enable some good commentary and an fairly easy to follow process. And the riders are off. Let's see if we can pick up someone out of the Bs straight away. Just saw Shannon go past me, Hugh Smith, see if we can grab him. There we go. So while he's on screen, it is a 1 minute staggered interval starts for A, B, C and D. So just as we joined the live coverage there, the A's had already gone off. And although we will have a look at the A's and the other riders where possible, 5 riders in the A's tonight, some 9 I think in category B, including a couple of promotions in there I think, 5 riders in category C, and there were 4 in category D, but that's now gone down to 2. I think many of the riders have been changed position following the successful TT event over the last week, which was won by Stoneham Jr. Second was Tom. 5th was Campbell. They're all racing tonight, these riders. 6th was Katie Jury. 7th, Davis. 9th, Mayhew Smith on the screen now. Lots of power-ups coming on there. Riders are trying to hold on here. The first half of the course is roughly flat. It then goes through a long, steep downhill, and then the climbs come in pretty much quick succession, one after the other. And to make it even worse, there is a climb up to the finish with about 300-400 metre sort of false flat as the riders go over the top. So as expected in here, Campbell as well. I'm sure Davis will be in there. Dames not riding with the Bs at long last. He's has fully not been able to sort of run with the Davis protocol for any longer, and he's been promoted into the A's, which is where he should be really. So especially as he's managed to catch the A's on a number of occasions in recent races. So we'll see if we can find him a little bit later on. There is Davis. So 250 watts, so beginning to settle a little bit, heart rate's up there, cadence is good. For a race of this nature, well, Davis is, actually that's interesting, his 20-minute recent average is 4.03 watts per kilo. His FTP 308 watts, and apparently 79 kilos in weight. So he's sitting comfortably in the bunch at this stage. Lancia, I saw him go past there. Now this course will be good for Lancia at the start, but he may not like the hills just as much as he would prefer. 310 watts, he's currently holding 2.4 kilometres in 3 minutes. And to give you some idea in comparison to Davis, his FTP 355 watts. And he's lost a bit of weight recently, down to 88 kilos. So he should be able to get that power to weight ratio up a little. In fact, just looking at his statistics, he has slowly creeped up, sitting around 3.8 average last race. Unfortunately, makes it rather noisy. Very well in the TT. A number of riders were very close together. So the other riders, Hindley in here, will go posted a good TT time, so I think he's becoming more familiar with Zwift racing, assuming up the strength in him. That was sitting second place in my first place. And you can just see ahead, he had at least a good charter record, so right in this 3 days, and running 13 seconds ahead, so either lost the line or lose, or he's off slightly. For Charles, 277, 300 watts, 350 watts. We're now at 4 kilometers in. First hills don't really come until about 12k, so riders will theoretically be trying to conserve their energy at this stage, because it will all probably get blown apart come the first, maybe not the first hill, but certainly by the third hill, and certainly by the second time the riders go up, it will make a huge difference. So Smith just behind, Lancia ahead, Davis I think is ahead, but they're all in this group together. There are about, let's have a quick look at the aerial shot. 30 riders in there, I think. Just looking back from Charles's perspective to the rear of the field, Shannon looks to be fairly comfortable at this stage, but it is very early, don't forget it, for 9 kilometers. Once we get off the cobbles. I'm just trying to see if I can find some information on Charles. Nothing there just at the moment, but we'll come back. So before we get, I should say, to the halfway point in the hills, I will have a quick look backwards in the field. See if we can catch some of the C's racing. There's Hindley actually. So there has been a break in the leading B group, and Hindley now is 55 seconds behind the group that has Davis, Campbell, Shannon, etc. So that's quite a big difference in just 5 kilometers. 215 watts he's holding, which for a rider of his strength and size is not a huge amount, but it probably well placed at this stage. Just as I say that, he goes up to 300 odd watts, so I suspect the group are riding quite well. And Shannon is now 1 minute ahead, so I suspect it's the other half of, if you like, of the B group that are pulling away rather than this group getting any slower. And we'll have a quick look back in the C's just to see who we can see. Langan in this group, Quigley in there as well. Late entry, didn't have him on the start list. So other C riders we should have, Peter Jones, Lay, Littlewood, Measham, Nixon. Nixon can do very well in this race. There he is, in fact, just slightly ahead in the pack. 6 kilometers in, 220 watts. Minutes 46 seconds. So this group seems to have a sensible pace at the moment. They really need to just ignore the bees ahead. In fact, they are about a minute behind Hindley as far as I can tell at this stage, so that is consistent, which suggests that the leading bee group are actually pulling away rather than the group that holds Hindley slowing down. And I just saw Tamsin in there as well. There she is. So she's a bee rider, fairly recently promoted, has dropped backwards or lost touch with the front. Check further back. Measham, I think I saw there briefly. There he is. That's unfortunate. So he's dropped some 38 seconds off the main C group, and 8 seconds behind him we have Littlewood, May, and I think I saw Lay in there as well, so that's quite interesting. That's that group split over quite a distance, maybe 800-900 meters. There's Lay. So let's go back towards the front of the field. Don't want to lose the opportunity to see them go up the first climbs. So far we have Mayhew, Smith, Shannon, Davis, Campbell. No sign of Langan. Have I mentioned Langan before? I'm not sure, but this is one of the descents now, coming up to 9 kilometers, and I would expect, yes, just after they finish this descent there's a sort of a short flat bit, then at 12k becomes Libby Hill, which averages 6.4% at 600 meters long, but that doesn't tell the whole story. As typical with these things, an average really doesn't let you know about the sections that are very steep, much steeper than that in fact, and of course the ones that are welcoming at a little bit less than 6%. So Mayhew Smith will hope to hold on with this group. He did rather well, and I think last week's race managed to hang on to the leading group almost to the very end. And if I recall, his TT performance put him over 4 watts per kilo, so he might be heading back towards the A's where he was once before, and then either lost a bit of fitness or readjusted his turbo, or lost some weight or gained some weight, or some combination of that, ended back in the B's where he seems to be much more competitive. Charles, 260, 270 watts. So I'm just watching now for the first hill coming up at 10.7. We'll have a look at, we'll stay with Charles actually on this hill, see what happens. So just saw ahead the tail end of the A group, 1 minute 6 seconds ahead. Not sure where the leading riders are, but we won't have a look at them until this group has gone up the first hill. Davis I've just seen as well. So the group is fairly together, as you can see. Riders beginning to jostle a little bit. The hill is coming. I recognise this part of the course. It's a fairly out and back course. It sort of covers a long, thin section of road, doubles back in itself. In fact, I will, if I can, rather than watch Charles, as if I can find Campbell. There he is. He's already suggested that he's not too keen on this course, so let's have a look at him and see what happens. So Lancier's behind him, I think Charles is behind him. Davis I'm not sure about, Mayhew Smith I'm not sure, they're all in this group. But just not quite sure where they are. There's Charles towards the front on the right hand side. Shannon is still in there as well, nice to see. Oh, there's a rider stopped right in the middle of the course, it's a bit dangerous. Okay, so here we come up to the hill, slight downhill. It goes down to -7 this bit. I think when it goes round this corner on the right it starts to climb. Looks like it on the profile. So watts per kilo now starting to climb for some of these riders, and here we go, that's the start of one of the sprint sections. Is anyone going to try? I don't think so, not this time Ryan, maybe next time. So Campbell 5.7 watts per kilo, Davis 4.4, and they're all just taking it relatively comfortably, if I could say that. It's not easy, but 8% so far on the climb. You can see the top, the finish banner for this sprint section. It's 3 corners away. I think round the next corner it becomes even steeper. Davis on 5.6 watts, Charles 4.5, he's dropped a second off. I might just have a look at him and see what's happening. This is where he's got to be careful. This cobbled section is where it gets really steep, 16% I saw there. There's a rider faltering. Charles is going backwards a little bit, but then look what's happening behind him. Riders are really getting strung out. This is a very hard little climb, and the cobbles, although obviously not affecting a virtual rider, they do, in terms of vibration, they do add to the resistance. So they're not welcome. 13% on this corner. Come on Charles, you've got to hold on. 177 beats per minute in his heart, so he is pushing, no doubt about that. That's about as much as he's going to push. Shannon though has dropped 4 seconds behind Charles. He's one of the riders further back. 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Let's have a quick look at him, see what's going on. There he is. Hindley's 45 seconds behind him. Ahead of Shannon now. Charles at 6 seconds. Let's see if we can see the top riders. They will have crested the Campbell, Mayhew, Smith, Lancier. Oh, Campbell and Mayhew Smith seem to have dropped off. Now that is a bit of a surprise. I would have thought Campbell would have hung on for this first climb. Maybe the psychology of these climbs has got to him, but Lancier is 12 seconds ahead. That was unexpected. Mayhew Smith right next to him there, and it goes back into a steep downhill and then starts to climb almost straight away. In fact, there's the second climb, 23rd Street, in about a kilometre. So if we can pick up, there it is, Davis on that climb now. Much shorter at 300 metres long, but it is steep as well. In fact, there is Brown in the A's. I just saw him slightly ahead, so always hard to tell. Jury's got one of the sprint sections, King of the Mountains there, Danes, 41 seconds ahead, so he's pulling out. Good job he's in the A's, really. There'd be lots of complaints if he wasn't. Stoneham and Tom are in there as well. So in the A's, just briefly, it looks like Tom at 15.3 kilometres, Jury, Stoneham Is Danes with them as well? Yes, Danes is with them as well. Oh, in fact, I've got that wrong. The jury has... This is just the way in which Zwift is updating. So she's dropped 30 odd seconds off the leading A group. Brown is 7 seconds behind her. Oh, just rolling down the hill. I hope he doesn't have some technical problems. And then Lance here is some 17 seconds. It just changed as I looked at it. Now, what's happened to Lance here? Is he pushing out by himself? It seems a bit foolish. Looks as if he's gone all out over the top, because catching him up pretty quickly are Mayhew Smith and Campbell. In fact, that is Lance here. They can see on the screen ahead. They will have a similar view to that I have at the moment. So this is quite interesting. And just to give you some indication, Brown and Jury are coming together up in the A's ahead and are about 25 seconds ahead of Mayhew Smith and Campbell, who have now caught up with Lance here. So let's pop back further back in the field, just see what's happened to the rest of them going up these hills. This second hill. There's Charles and Shannon together. 20 seconds off the pace now. Maybe not quite fair, but 20 seconds behind the leading group of B riders. And Charles is looking a little bit lonesome there, trying to pull ahead of Shannon. Not sure if this is a wise strategy, or perhaps it's Shannon that's slowed down a little. Let's see if we can determine. 250 watts for Shannon, 260 for sorry, the other way around. 260 for Shannon, 250 for Charles. They are riders of a similar weight. A few years in age between them. So Charles should have the advantage. And it's evidenced by the heart rate there. Shannon at 153 and Charles at 170. They are now together. And Hindley a minute further back. So we will go back to the front of the field and hopefully catch the third climb of the day. So with Jury. Now I thought she and Brown were together. That is not the case. But it looks as if that's Zwift reporting the numbers incorrectly. No, it's just changed again. It looks as if Davis, yes, is with Jury, has caught up. I think in this case it's more a case of Jury moving backwards rather than the B's catching up with the A's. They'll be fairly determined to stay ahead. They are maintaining their 1 minute gap from the start. Stoneham Tom will be leading that charge, 16.8 kilometers in, so halfway through. And Jury's picked up another jersey. Didn't see what that one was. It's probably one of the sprint jerseys. So this group at 17.4 kilometers. Brown at 16.7. Both started at the same time. He's now picked up the pace again. 275 watts, 260. I suspect he had a technical issue of some description. That's unfortunate. It seemed to have been riding well. Mayhew Smith is with him. Is he? Yes, he is. Mayhew Smith and Campbell still there. That's expected. Lancia is in that group as well. So Lancia, Mayhew Smith, Campbell, Brown, 17.4. Let's move back towards the front. So Davis has managed to make the break with this group, left his fellow BCC riders a little further back in the field. He will now be calculating his average watts per kilo, making certain he doesn't go over 4, which he is an expert at, of course. "24 minutes 41 seconds, and Davis has a great ability to hold a high heart rate. He's at 167 at the moment, but he can go a few beats higher than that. If I can find out, I will tell you exactly where we are. And so Davis has recorded recently maximum heartbeat of 186 beats per minute, which at his age I really wouldn't like to be pushing it any more than that. And he's averaged 174 in that same race, and he's done that on more than one occasion at 186 beats. So a fantastic performance. It shows a great ability to push really hard when he needs to. Surprising that over the last few months of racing he's kept this performance very consistent. Seems to be one of the few riders that hasn't actually got any faster. Maybe he just can't, maybe that's as fast as he goes. But a great performance nonetheless, and a very canny competitor with the number of races under his belt. He must be approaching 260 races now. So I will, as we get towards the finish, see if I can catch the A's finishing, as long as they maintain their 1 minute lead. Stoneham, Danes, Tom. Does that read correctly, that Stoneham's actually pulled out ahead? It's a very brave move. 13-14 kilometers to go, 6.6 watts per kilo, so he's going for a big attack here. 345 watts, nearly 200 beats per minute on the heart, 90 in the cadence. I've not seen him ride like this before. This is a formidable performance, but will the peloton let him get away? There they are behind him, and if I just pop back to Tom at this stage, not pushing as hard in terms of watts per kilo, but that's the view they have of Stoneham. Tom knows that he can beat Stoneham, so he's going to try and bridge this gap, I suspect. 355 watts, 185 beats per minute, so he is pushing hard. Are they closing the gap? Doesn't look like it, not at this stage. Stoneham still maintaining a 9-10 second gap, 20.5 kilometers. This could be worth watching. Danes, another rider, very good tactically. He won't want to push himself out on a limb just at this stage. Stoneham just sets a new PR, I'm assuming, for that sprint section. Let's see how well he's doing. Have a quick look behind him. Can't see the rest of his BCC riders. They are there, 12 seconds back. Very interesting. He's on a TT bike. That was a brave move for that hill climbing, but seems to be working on the flat section. Or maybe that was his gamble. I don't think there's anything in the rules that says we have to ride road bikes in one of these races. It's only in the TTs that riders have to ride TTs, unless it's a mountain stage, of course, a little bit different. So Danes and Tom now 14 seconds further back. Stoneham still at 6.4 watts per kilo. Oh, he's just dropped to 5. This is a formidable performance. Very impressive to see. I just hope he can hold this until the end. I don't think so. But I hope he can. While he continues to extend his lead. If I can get an idea of how far back Davis is. So about 135, I think, the B group. So definitely not catching up the A's. Certainly not catching up the Stoneham at the speed that he's going at. Oh, Jury's picked up the green jersey as well now, so she's got all 3 jerseys. Davis and Jury at 21.5 kilometres. Brown, has he dropped off that group as well? 20 seconds, let me just check this. Yes, he has. I'm just waiting for Zwift to update the numbers there. About 30 seconds further back, possibly. Now with Campbell and Lancia and Mayhew Smith. Shannon now 1 minute further back, still with Charles. They've settled a little bit. I think they will now ride in this group throughout the rest of the race. Not many of them, only 6 there. I can see anyone coming up behind Hindley, and he's about 40 seconds further behind middle B group, I should call them. Call that the Shannon group. Shannon and Charles group, sounds like a comedy act. Lancia, so Lancia's early break didn't last long. Maybe he's got one more in him. 22 kilometres. So at about 24, the climb, if I've added it up correctly in my head, the climbs will start again. And I will have a quick look forward just to see how Stoneham is doing. Oh, he now has a 20-second lead over Danes. What's Danes up to? There he is, 5.5 watts per kilo. So the par has come down a little, but that's not a great surprise. But he's built up a 20-second lead. That's a remarkable performance. That looks as if the peloton have just let him go. Is there a fight left in them? About 8 kilometres left, roughly. 8, 9. It's entirely possible they could catch up in this distance, but the way they're riding right now, they're probably all having a discussion about who should make the effort, and no one is. Well, having said that, heart rate of Tom's still up there, still close to 300 watts, so they're not hanging around, but they need an extra effort to bridge that gap, and quite a big one. I'll have a look at Stoneham again. I'm just keen to see the point where he starts to go up the first climb. I think he's coming up to the long descent before the first climb, if I remember it correctly. 24.8 kilometers, 5.2 watts, 339, 366 watts, heartbeat still up close to 200. And here is the descent, -5, -6%, -7, I think it goes to 8. Back down to 6. So this is the long descent, the longest descent on the course. An opportunity for him to pull away a little bit more. The others will catch up, of course, when they come down the descent, but at 27 seconds ahead he is now. This is a formidable lead. If he just manages to stay calm, focus, I don't think he needs to go any harder than this. He just needs to watch the peloton behind him. If they start to shift, it's time for him to shift, but he's got time in hand. Has he got enough energy left to hold on? There's about 8k now, in fact. And we have Tom and Dane still together. Let's have a look and see how the leading Bs are doing. So Davis in third position for the Bs at this stage, which right at the front of this group. 2 minutes behind the A's. So the A's are riding very well. They have maintained, not only maintained their 1 minute advantage at the start, but they've gained another minute as well. There's little chance of the Bs catching up. Not that they need to, of course, this is a competition within a competition, but just to give you some idea of relative performance of these different groups. So Davis is certainly calmed down, shall we say, in terms of power output. 200 watts, 157 beats per minute, still a relatively high cadence. Now coming down the descent. And I might just pop back to Stoneham, as he is coming up to, not quite yet, maybe another kilometre before the climb. And if Tom, let's have a look, and Danes, yeah, so they are down the bottom of the descent as well. So Stoneham has maintained his 28-second lead, in fact effectively pulled a little bit further out. 5.7, 5.2 watts per kilo. He's got a little bit of a downhill coming up. This is just a small bump in the middle of this long straight section of road. He'd do well just to gather his breath a little bit, and as it comes round this corner shortly afterwards, there's a short straight section, if I remember, and then the climb begins, which, as a reminder, is the Libby Hill climb, 0.6 kilometres long, 6.4% average gradient. So Tom and Danes 32 seconds behind, and the rest of the A's, in fact, unless there's someone ahead of Stoneham, and I really don't think there is, he is on course to win this, which will be a great result in what is a tough course. It's playing to his advantage, of course. He is light and strong, but having said that, of course, he did remarkably well in the TT and won that not just by a few seconds over Tom, but quite convincingly. So a great all-round rider, still holding just over 5 watts per kilo. So he was pushing 6 plus 7 at one point as he went on the attack, and now he's settled back down to probably for him what is a known output, something that he can hold. And are we getting to the climb yet? Coming up, I think. Coming up. Here it comes. So the interesting bit is not how well he does on the climb, but how much time. So he's at the sprint line there, or the KOM line, I should say. He was 36 seconds ahead of Tom. A 600 metre climb. Average 6.4%, so if we just watch him until the end, we might, actually the others might be on the bottom of the hill before he gets to the top. Let's have a look and see. Yes, they're just coming onto the hill now. If I can get the same timing point. Stoneham 38 seconds ahead. Danes is still there as well. Wouldn't expect him to go anywhere else. After all, he's now a Category A rider. I think I missed the timing line there. Stoneham on the cobbled section. This is the steep bit. The average is low, but there are sections here that 10, 11, 12, 13% on the inside of these bends. There's someone behind them pushing at 8 watts per kilo. But Stoneham's on 6.4. You can see the finish ahead of him now. Right hand bend and under the banner, and let's see what the gap is. To the other BCC group. So it's down to 31 seconds. 29 seconds down now. Just got to stay on Tom, who's on Danes, who's pulled 2 seconds ahead of Tom. I think that's just the group stretching out a little bit rather than any great attack from Danes, though he does like to attack on the hills. And he crosses the line. Let's see if I just get a quick check on the time. 24 seconds, so he has gained 14 seconds. I think 24, 28, yes, about 14 seconds on Stoneham. So is he going to go for an attack? He and Tom are there together. It's a possibility. This group will now come back. Is Stoneham going to stay away? 22 seconds. 4.1 watts per kilo, 3.1. This is the downhill section, so he's probably just preparing himself for this hill that's just about to arrive. This is short and steep. 23rd Street climb. I think this is the hill that Peter Sagan made his famous attack on to win the World Championships in 2015. So I'll try and get a timing point as he crosses the finish banner here for the KOM. I'm just looking at the sprint times on the left. Campbell's in 4th currently. So Stoneham passes under the banner 24 seconds ahead of Tom. Let's just go to Tom, and he's now 2 seconds behind Danes, 3 seconds behind Danes. That's 4 seconds behind Danes. Let's see what Danes manages. Now Stoneham has maintained his gap on Danes, but Tom now looks as if he's beginning to suffer a little. I don't think he'll catch up with Stoneham. Anyway, back to the main event, in terms of at least numbers riding in groups. Davis and Jury looks as if she's dropped off on this climb a little bit. Oh, is she on the climb yet? Close. Let me just see if I can catch Stoneham, because he's close to. In fact, we will stay with Stoneham until the finish now, because it's only 2 or 3k away. Tom 30 seconds back, Danes 22 seconds back. He's unlikely to catch up. It is possible to do 10 seconds per kilometre, and Danes is at 6.2 watts per kilo. He's going for it. He's just dropped back down now as soon as I said that. 3.4. Stoneham's still at 5.4. Very unlikely. Stoneham's got this. He's got not just the win for BCC, but the overall win. Hopefully I haven't spoken too soon. A kilometre to go approximately. I'm not sure if there's a flamme rouge on this course. There might be. It's reported as 33 kilometres long, but often they're a little bit over when the lead-in is counted. But it should appear in the top right of the screen in the moving map. 5% climb. This is the last climb up to the finish. So it sort of winds its way up here, gets to the top. It's a sharp left-hand bend, then it's about a 300 metre long sort of falls flat. At least that's what it feels like, to the finish. So there is someone behind Stoneham really pushing very hard. 10 seconds though, it's not going to catch him. Unlikely, not without the help of some other riders. Japanese rider by the looks of it. Oh, actually, there he is. I hope Stoneham realises he is there, because he is gaining very rapidly and has just got the climbing jersey as well. I think it's too much though. He's not going to get it. Stoneham can see the finish. That is it, just about to come on screen. It's about 300 metres away. Just 1% So it looks flat, not quite flat. And there we go. I will move back to the other riders. What a fantastic win for Stoneham. Well done. A great performance. Fantastic break. Glad I caught that on camera. You can relax and sit up. And here we have Danes. Can see Stoneham just finishing ahead. That is certainly not going to catch him. And there is Tom with Danes further ahead in his field of view. It was just that final couple of kilometres over the climb that finished him off, in a relative sense of course. And if we can catch the leading B rider, Davis. I saw him at 4.2 watts per kilo there. That was a little bit high for him. And on the final climb now up to the finish, Jury's 21 seconds further back. Davis will be implementing the Davis protocol at this stage. He knows he's in first position for the Bs in the club. He'll be very careful not to go over 3.999 watts per kilo. Still has a high heartbeat though, 176 beats per minute, so it is all quite relative. Sort of laughing aside, he's still pushing very hard. And that is the finish ahead, but Campbell 21 seconds further back. Is he with anyone else? Yes, Lancia. So there could be a sprint here, and Jury's in there. Let's just follow Lancia, simply because he's behind Campbell at this stage. Lancia's got a good sprint on him. Is Campbell going yet? Let's try and work it out. Campbell's at 6.3 watts. He's gone earlier. No, 6.8. Lancia's cruising. Have a watch of Jury. And Mayhew Smith's just a couple of seconds behind her. No, they're not sprinting, these guys. Seem to just be cruising across the line. Is Lancia going to make one last concerted effort here? He is. I think he is. 10 watts per kilo. Yes, he's going for it. Is he going to get Campbell? Yes, he has. Well done. I knew he had it in him. There's Jury crossing the line, and Mayhew Smith just coming up now as well. It's quite a good ride for him. Stayed with the main B group, and Brown will be the next rider. 254 watts, 150 beats per minute heart rate. Oh, he's time to take a drink. No one behind or ahead of him, so no real incentive to go mad here. We'll let him cross the line, and let's see if we can find. Hindley was further back in the field. Charles. There we have Charles. 11 seconds behind him, Shannon, and a further 5 seconds behind him, Hindley. So this is going to be interesting. Has Shannon the capability to catch up with Charles at this stage? I'd say no. That is Shannon just coming around the corner at the far end there. If I go to Shannon now, that is Charles, just where my cursor is, up at the top of the screen. So Hindley, he could most certainly catch Shannon here. 370 watts though, he's pushing really hard. Have another look. Come on Hindley, keep going, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, you'll catch him. Get the cadence up a bit. Lower gear. He's going to catch him. Let's see the view. That is Shannon just ahead. Let's just move to Charles quickly as he comes up to the top of the hill. So I think a fairly good ride from him. You can see the experience is building. He's managed to pull ahead of some of the other B riders that in recent races have beaten him. Not quite stayed with Campbell, and certainly not with Davis, not yet, a bit early for that, but I think it will come very soon. And there is the finish ahead for Charles. See how we're doing with Hindley and Shannon. No, Hindley has not managed to catch Shannon. Shannon knows he's behind, has piled on a bit of pressure to make absolutely certain he wins ahead of these two, I should say. So we will let those two cross the line. No race there. Langen haven't seen tonight. Watching the front of the Bs, of course. This is towards the rear, intermixed with the Cs on the final climb. No other BCC riders as far as I can see around him. So let's have a look in the Cs. Now, Nixon. I suspect, although I don't know, he is leading for BCC the Cat C riders. And a minute behind him is Quigley. I thought, was it Quigley that had moved up to the Bs, or had ridden in the Bs, but clearly this is the right place for him. Tamsin in the Bs, mixed up with the Cs at 30.6 kilometres. And we should have, let me just have a quick look and see if I can find, I don't want to miss the finish here. Quick look further back and just see who else we can see. Looking for Lay. There is Lay. This is Libby Hill. Sorry, this is 23rd Street. This is the really short, sharp, steep one. And whoever he was riding with there, Norrington, put in a big attack and then slowed down, and then looks as if he's almost stopped. Oh, he has stopped. Clearly over ambitious. Ah, Littlewood. Aha! Right. So Littlewood and Lay 9 seconds apart. That will be Littlewood just up ahead. Oh, sorry, went the wrong way around. That's Littlewood just going onto the banner now. Doesn't look that far away, but on a road that's that steep, it's time that counts. So it does look as if Nixon is the leading rider for Category C BCC. At 32.2 kilometres, 51 minutes, 55 seconds into the race. Less than a kilometre to go. It's a cruel finish, this one. Exhausted, been pushing hard. A hill up to the finish. And even though the final few hundred metres are almost flat, it certainly doesn't feel like that. So we will let Nixon cross the line. Quigley's going to cross. I suspect he won't gain any further. Maybe 40 seconds further back. Have a quick look and see who else we can find. So Tamsin is 8 seconds behind Quigley. Entirely possible she could catch. Could catch him. See if we can get them all on screen together. That will be him ahead of that group of, I think, 3 riders on the screen in front. At 32.2 kilometres. Lay 20 seconds, 26 seconds further back. Littlewood, sorry, I forgot. Coming up to the final climb as well. And let's see if we can find any of our category. Oh, there's Misham I saw, and May. Stracy must have been a late entry. Haven't seen you before in this race. There's Misham. category C mixed in with the Ds. So about 2 minutes behind Nixon, I think. A bit hard to tell. May is 11 seconds further back. I'm just waiting for the time to settle. It says here Measham's 50 seconds further ahead, but it's just changed. May 38 seconds ahead. Peter Jones 1 minute 17 further back. And Telford, category D, 29 kilometres, so apologies to Telford, won't watch you to the end just to keep the coverage a little bit shorter. I have one last look up to the front runners that are still on course, and then we will finish for this evening's coverage. Quigley is probably the last rider I'm going to be able to get on course. It is. So Quigley's coming up to the finish line now in just over 55 minutes. Take another 20 seconds to get there or so, I think. Another rider on a TT bike. I'm wondering whether this is many of the riders that have forgotten to change bikes from the TT and have just come out almost by default on the TT bike. It didn't seem to do Stoneham any harm, but I would suggest it's probably not the best approach for everyone else, because you can't, as far as I recall, you can't draft on a TT bike, which of course that's what this race is all about. So I suspect Quigley's performance is down to the wrong choice of bike. Littlewood, he'll be on a road bike. And so that you know, if anyone makes that mistake, you can actually stop and change bikes on course. And we will finish coverage with Ley at 32.5 kilometres. No BCC riders immediately ahead or behind him. Littlewood's 27 seconds ahead will have crossed the finish line, I think, by now, or just about to. Ley, our final rider for tonight's coverage. So thank you all for watching. Coverage a little bit easier to follow, and the course is longer and a little bit more fewer laps, I should say, and with a 1 minute staggered interval. So might try the same approach for the next race, which is on Thursday evening. So thank you all for watching, and see you again on Thursday.